Hey everybody, my name is Jake and this is my channel Wishlist, and today I want to talk to you about finding more enjoyment in your fish keeping hobby, enjoying more of what you love and avoiding more of what you don't love. So I want to go through a list of time savers, but when I say time savers, I'm not talking about just doing it so efficiently so that you never have to spend time with your tanks. But there are things that you can do in this hobby that just are not fun and that might be different for everybody, so I'm going to touch on a little bit of everything. I'm talking about the things that you can do to make mistakes that will potentially make you spend more time doing things that you hate as opposed to doing things that you love. So let's go through that list right now and help you to find more time to enjoy doing the things that you love and avoid doing the things that you just don't. So let's go. The first one I want to talk about is making sure that your filters run efficiently, and you can do that with your wave maker placements. Now this applies to filters that have an intake tube, such as a canister filter or a hang on the back filter. If you put your wave maker above your intake for your main filter, it'll suck the detritus up and it'll allow it to get sucked into the filter, so that'll kind of help those run more efficiently. Another thing that you can do is use a pre-filter sponge. That can help you to go longer time in between having to clean out your canister filters and your hang on the back filters. Canister filters can be a pain in the butt to clean out. Hang on the back filters are a little bit easier to clean out, so if you're looking for a filter that's a little easier to maintain, hang on the back filters are a lot faster, so I would recommend getting one of those. There's a lot of things with quarantining fish that can cause you a lot of headaches and a lot of hassle and take a lot of your time. If you quarantine the fish in too big of a tank and you have to treat a tank, it can take a long time to have to do water changes every day if you have to. So quarantining in as small of a tank as that fish can realistically stay in for a 4 to 6 week period is important. Another thing with quarantining fish is that if you don't quarantine fish, it can cause a lot of problems and a lot of hassle with treating more fish down the road. So quarantining in itself is a great way to save time. Not that you should ever skip the quarantine process, but another good idea is to always buy fish from a reputable source in a place that you trust. There's a few good online retailers that I've found that are great. I like to stick to smaller breeders that sell online. They tend to have a lot healthier fish. There's only a few big stores, big places that I'll buy from that offer a lot of different fish. It's just really hard to carry thousands and thousands of fish and have healthier fish. So for me, I focus a little bit more on just the smaller breeders, and that saves me a lot of time because I don't have to treat fish that often. One of my biggest temptations is always to put way too many fish in a tank because I love having lots of different fish. It can be a problem if you buy aggressive fish. If your fish are too aggressive, you can spend a lot of time worrying about the aggression in the tank and worrying about whether or not you're gonna wake up the next day and find a dead fish. So not overstocking a tank, paying close attention to aggression levels with fish, having extra tanks available to move fish as needed can save you a lot of time by preventing problems that come with aggression. Everybody loves algae, right? Algae happens and you should just get used to it. One of the most common mistakes that I have made in the past is that when I set up a new tank, I get a little antsy because there's always algae phases that it goes through when it's establishing itself. I use a lot of plants to help with algae. I almost always have a live plant in every single tank, and that can really help you out on that front. But I feel like this one is all about being patient. Just understand that plants go through algae phases and they're gonna look a little ugly. Sometimes it's a month in, sometimes it's 3 months in, sometimes it takes 6 months to resolve. I've had it resolve in a month. It just depends on what you're doing with the tank. There's a lot of different factors that go into it, but I would say just be patient with your tanks. Don't spend all of your time digging around trying to scrape off every little bit of algae. I personally kind of like some algae in the tank. I think it makes it look more natural. Kind of that sterile environment doesn't really make sense to me. I like the more natural look of tanks. So kind of getting your standards to the right place for what a fish tank should look like. Don't worry about a little bit of algae during the opening phases of a tank. And if you do want to do something about that, add lots of live plants. Another option is to add different kinds of things that will eat the algae. I have a big problem with growing blackbeard algae, which isn't something that really goes away on its own. So I have quite a few Siamese algae eaters. I like them, they're pretty fish, they're cool fish, they're active and fun, and they eat all the blackbeard algae in the tank. So that's something that I use. I do use some algae eaters like that. I use bristlenose plecos that I really like that kind of help keep the glass sort of clean, not 100%. Don't necessarily encourage you to think of a pleco as an algae eater. I enjoy them just as fish. Also, they tend to create a lot of waste, which can cause a lot more algae, but they do a good job of kind of cleaning off surfaces and rocks and nooks and crannies that you couldn't necessarily get to. But in the end, I would recommend just relaxing the way you think about algae. Don't worry about having a little bit of algae in the tank, especially if it's less than 6 months old. If it's a year old and it's absolutely disgusting, at that point, sure, maybe you can do some stuff to it. And even along the way, adding live plants, doing water changes, adjusting your lights, things like that can help. But as far as time saving goes, I would just not worry about it too much, and maybe if you're really worried about it, use some of those suggestions that I mentioned. I would always recommend having your lights on a timer, whether it's a manual timer or a Wi-Fi timer. Being able to control the photo period of your tank goes a long way to be able to control that algae, but it also controls the environment of your tank and the plant growth and things like that. Just a time saver in general. It's not a good feeling to realize that you accidentally left your light on for a couple of days, which not only can be very bad for the fish, but it also can cause a lot of algae and cause a lot of problems in your tank and make your tank look pretty nasty. So just get a Wi-Fi timer or a manual timer for each one of your lights, and it'll save you a lot of time. Water changes is something that some people really enjoy or really hate. I feel like there's no in between. You either really enjoy it or you really hate it, at least from my experience. I, for one, kind of enjoy it, but I also kind of make a game out of it. I like to see how fast that I can do them, and I also like kind of coming up with the systems and working my hoses and things like that to make it even faster, and I made a video on that I'll link in the upper corner there. But making sure your water changes are as quick as possible, I feel like is always a good idea, just because some weeks you might have less time than others, and if you don't have time to do the water changes, then that can cause a lot of problems with other things that we've already talked about. So having the fastest system that you can possibly come up with, I think, is important for water changes. There is the Python system, that is the brand. There's also a Haiger hose that they make that is very similar to the Python system, basically exactly the same. They all use the siphon from your sinks to be able to create a suction to be able to pull water out of the tank. These are a little bit wasteful on water, so you can use pumps to just put onto a hose and connect to either go out the door or into a sink or into some kind of drain to be able to drain water from your tanks. If you want to get crazy, you can come up with automatic water change systems. I built one of those myself for my discus tank in order to be able to keep discus, because I wanted to be able to do daily water changes, but I knew that I wasn't going to have enough time to do that. But just come up with the fastest system that you possibly can. I would not recommend doing the buckets and just carrying things around. That's not my idea of a fun water change. So just come up with the fastest system that you can, just so that you actually do it, because if you don't do it, you're going to have lots of problems with your fish's health, and you're going to have to treat the fish, and then you're also going to have problems with lots of algae and things like that. So coming up with that fast water change system can save you a ton of time. So lots of great ideas there, something for you to think about. I would like to hear from each one of you. If you have any tips on how to save time in taking care of your fish tanks, to spend more time doing the things you love and less time doing the things you hate. So put those down in the comment section below, and I really appreciate all of you for being here. You guys are the best. It's been a lot of fun making this channel and making these videos, and I enjoy doing it and sharing it with all of you, and I hope that you got some value out of this one. I've got more videos in the future coming and more ideas to share with all of you guys, so stay tuned for each one of those and come on back, and I'll see you in the next one. Fish Loosed out.